Hello, Mrs. Banny. Thank you for joining. Just going to wait for a few more people to sign in before I start reading. I will be reading chapters 6 through 8. I think we're up to 6. Is that the way I read this? Hello, Mrs. Donahue. Thank you for your greeting. All right, we're up to 8. Here we go. I think when we get to 10, I'll start reading. I don't know. Maybe I should wait for 20. Hi, Jovi. Thanks for joining. I'm expecting Ava's probably joined too. And I don't know, besides Mrs. Banny, maybe Amelia. Hello, Vetters. Okay, here we go. Chapter 6, Skunk Lunch. Can it spray yet? Janie asked. No, Mom answered. Soon he'll be able to, but when skunks are babies, they can't spray as strongly as adults. By the way, can someone let me know if they can hear me well enough? Lila, hi to you back. All right. Can you hear me? Okay. I'm hoping you can hear me. All right. Skunk lunch. Can it spray yet? Janie asked. No, Mom answered. Soon he'll be able to, but when skunks are baby, they can't spray as strongly as adults. Pat realized he didn't know a lot about skunks. I don't know a lot about skunks, but stay tuned. At the end of our reading, I'm going to give you some ideas about where you can learn more about skunks. He knew they sprayed a stinky smell to protect themselves, and he knew they were mammals. And he knew they were omnivores because they ate bugs and smaller animals and plants. That means they eat both. They're both bugs and plants, so both things. But he didn't know very much more than that. He decided to learn everything about skunks. I hope a few of you will want to do that as well. But what are you going to feed him? Bat asked. But when are we going to feed him? Bat asked. Can I do it? He's too little to eat yet, so we need to feed him formula. They don't make skunk formula, so we will use baby formula, puppy formula. It's the closest thing to mother skunk milk. Janie stood up. It's a cute skunk, Mom, but I want to go over to Ezra's house, okay? Okay, Mom said. Be back in an hour. Ezra lived 3 houses up the block and had been Janie's best friend since before Bat was even born. Janie loved Ezra. She thought he was funny and smart and creative. Bat didn't love Ezra. He thought Ezra was loud and annoying and a mean tease. Sometimes when Janie went to play at Ezra's house, it bothered Bat that he wasn't invited. And there wasn't a house he was invited to visit where Janie didn't go. But right now, he didn't care about Ezra or anything other than feeding the skunk kit. Goodbye, he said to Janie without taking his eyes off the baby skunk's tiny face. The skunk was yawning and licking its lips with the world's tiniest, pinkest tongue. That's just, I can just see that picture. It'd be so cute. Janie left. Mom said, okay, Bat, sit right here and I'll get the formula. She went to her bag and pulled out a can, like a soda can, but with a picture of a puppy on it. Mom shook it and it cracked it open and dipped a syringe inside, pulling the plunger up. Bat watched it fill with thick white liquid. Has anybody ever had amoxicillin? Because I bet you might have had your mom or dad or someone take that syringe and fill it with that pink liquid before they plunged it into your mouth, just like the skunk's gonna get its food. We only give him a few drops at a time, Mom said, carrying the full syringe back over to the table. Watch me do it first. There's a picture. Oops. There's a picture. Sorry. Gotta get that in tune here. Oh, the baby skunk getting fed. She took the skunk and arranged him on her lap, one hand over his back and under his front legs to hold him upright, the other hand aiming the syringe full of formula at his mouth. The skunk seemed to know what was about to happen and twitched its tiny pink nose back and forth eagerly. Mom slowly pushed down on the plunger, and Bat watched a thick white droplet of baby formula push through the hole at the end of the syringe. The skunk tipped back his chin and opened his mouth, licking eagerly at it. What a good little baby, Mom crooned, pressing more formula into its mouth. I want to feed him. Let me feed him. I want to feed him, Bat said. Okay, Mom said, and handed the skunk back to Bat. He tried to hold the skunk the way Mom had, and then took the syringe in his other hand. Very slowly, Mom warned him, and finally it was Bat's turn. As slowly as he could, he pushed down on the plunger, aiming the syringe tip at the baby skunk's mouth. And it worked! The skunk's little pink tongue lapped at the formula. Droplets gathered at the corners of its mouth, and some ran down his chin onto the towel, but most of it made its way into the baby skunk. I'm doing it, he whispered. I'm feeding him. You sure are, Mom said. Bat knew he was doing a messier job than what Mom had done, but the baby skunk didn't seem to mind. I love him, Bat said. He hadn't meant to say it out loud. Mom laughed. Careful, or you might make me jealous. But it's true, Bat said. I love him. Mom said they'd have to hand the kid over to the rescue center in a month. But Bat, holding the tiny animal in his arms, made a silent promise that he'd find a way to keep the baby skunk. You think he's going to be able to do that? Ooh, I don't know. We're only starting chapter 7 now. We'll have to see, but I know one of the things he's going to do is learn everything he can about that bat, because if he does that, make his mom more likely to let him keep it. I think I remember we ended up with hamsters in our house because our daughter read everything she could about hamsters and finally wore us down. We had to get a hamster because she knew everything there was and exactly how to take care of them. So I think Bat might be doing the same thing with the skunk. Here we go, chapter 7. Every other Fridays. The next morning was an every other Friday. On every other Fridays, Mom drove back to his school, and Janie walked to her school just like usual. But in the afternoon, Dad would pick them up. First Bat, whose class let out 20 minutes before Janie's, and then they would all go home to his apartment for the weekend. Every other Fridays made Bat uncomfortable. Like his skin was too tight. Bat liked it when things followed a pattern, and every other Fridays broke the pattern. This every other Friday was the worst Bat had ever experienced, because it meant that it would be 3 days until he saw the skunk kid again. He had begged his mom to let him take the skunk to Dad's house, but Mom refused. "The baby skunk needs to be with me," she said. "I'll take him to work, and the vet techs can watch him while I'm with patients. Besides, Bat, I don't think your dad is a fan of skunks." Bat even tried pretending to be sick so he could stay home instead of going to school. He told Mom that he had a sore throat and achy ears, but Bat hardly ever lied. It made him feel itchy. Ugh. But even though Mom's patients were animals rather than humans, she was kind of a doctor. She shined a light into his ears and made him say, "Ah," as she looked down his throat. "You're not sick, Bat," she said. "You just want to stay with the skunk kid." "He needs me," Bat whined. "Bat," Mom warned, "don't let yourself get all worked up, okay?" Sorry, said Bat. "We can help raise this kit this month as a family, as long as you keep on doing all the regular stuff too. School and Dad's and homework and everything. If the skunk kit is too much of a distraction, then I can get Lawrence to take him home in the evenings." Lawrence was Bat's favorite vet tech at Mom's clinic. He could juggle 5 juggling clubs, and even though he had enormous hands big enough to hold all the clubs at once, he was gentle. He had a deep voice, but the deepest voice Bat had ever heard, deep like space. But no matter how much Bat liked Lawrence, there was no way he was going to let him take that kit home after work. My throat feels better," he said, "much better." Mom and Janie and Bat all left the house together. Mom locked the door behind them. She kissed Janie and said, "Look both ways. Have a fun weekend." "Okay, Mom," Janie said. "See you on Monday." Bat climbed into the back seat of the car and fastened his seatbelt. He liked to sit in the middle seat because someone had once told him that it was the safest seat in the whole car. That was one of the things he didn't like about every other Fridays. His dad's car, a fast little yellow convertible, didn't have a middle back seat. It just had 2 side back seats with a hump in the middle. Here's a picture of him going to school with Mom. Mom placed the box with the kit on the front passenger seat. Then she started the car and backed down the driveway. It wasn't a long drive to Bat's school. The distance from their house to his school was exactly 2.3 miles. Bat knew this because he liked his mother to push the button on the dashboard each morning, the one that reset the trip meter. Bat spent the entire 2.3 miles trying to come up with a reason why he shouldn't go to Dad's, even though it was in every other Friday. A reason that wouldn't make his mom give the kit to Lawrence. But he couldn't think of anything. They arrived at his school. "You'll take good care of the kit?" Bat asked Mom. "Honey," Mom said, "I'm a veterinarian. Taking care of animals is my job, I promise." Bat nodded. He unbuckled his seatbelt, slid across the back seat, and got out of the car. "Wait a minute," Mom called after him through her rolled-down window. "Aren't you forgetting something?" He had his backpack. He had his lunch. He had his earmuffs. "No," he said. Mom smiled. "You forgot to kiss me goodbye." "Oh, yeah," said Bat. He walked back over to the car and stuck his head through Mom's window. She wrapped her arms around his neck and pulled him close. Her wavy brown hair tickled his nose. "Goodbye, little Bat," she said. "I'll miss you." And then she kissed his cheek. "Goodbye," Bat answered. He walked up to the school's front door, then turned around. Mom was still there in her car watching him. He raised his hand and waved. Mom honked the horn at him. 3 light, happy honks. And then she drove away. Does anybody have any thoughts as to why he doesn't like every other Thursday? I'm going to take a break here and go get my notes that I should have to ask questions. If I can find them. Yeah, I can't find them. Oh, they're here on the floor next to where I was sitting. Okay. No comments. Anybody have a comment? All right. Our sheet says, after that, Bat doesn't like every other Friday because it's when he and his sister go and stay with their dad for the weekend. Bat likes routines, and this breaks his routine. He especially doesn't want to leave the kit this Friday. But you know, it's really important also that he spend time with his dad, and I'm sure he does love his dad and he loves to spend time with him. It's just sometimes hard when you have 2 households. I have 4 stepkids, so I understand 2 households and kids going back and forth. We had every other Monday, so one Monday, 1 week on and 1 week off. It's still hard, but it was a pretty good solution for us. All right, here we go. Chapter 8. Sometimes Bat wished that Janie went to his school. Oh, sorry, chapter 8, 16 islets. Sorry, I'm not reading the chapter heading. Sometimes Bat wished that Janie went to his school because it would be kind of neat to see her in the hallways and at lunchtime. But most of the time, he was glad that his school was something he didn't have to share with her. Janie attended the Robert E. Willett Elementary School, but this was her last year. Next fall, she was going to be going to junior high school. Bat went to a private school. It had smaller classes than the public school, and his parents thought it was a better fit for him, which was fine with Bat. Mr. Grayson was a good teacher who never yelled and who usually let Bat wear his earmuffs if things got too loud. Also, his school, the Saway School, was called after a type of owl. Now you know a secret. If I don't know how to pronounce a word and I look at it, it doesn't help me pronounce it. So I don't know if W-H-E-T is way, but that's how I'm pronouncing it today. Maybe someone at school can tell me tomorrow or next week how we really pronounce that word. The main hallway of the Saway School was a busy place until 8:35 a.m. when class officially started. Wow, they start a lot later than we do, almost a whole hour. Until then, it was full of parents walking the younger kids, those in kindergarten and first grade, to their classrooms, and older kids walking themselves, all while the principal, Mrs. Martinez, stood outside of the administration office smiling and being friendly. "Bat!" called Mrs. Martinez, waving and smiling. Bat didn't feel like talking to Mrs. Martinez, so he pretended he didn't see her and slid to the far side of the hallway as he passed. That way she couldn't reach out and rumple his hair. Bat hated it when people rumpled his hair, and Mrs. Martinez loved to rumple hair. She had never yet rumpled his hair, and Bat wanted to keep it that way. There we are. Oops. We have Bat and Mrs. Martinez. Bat liked the main hallway better when all the other kids were in their classrooms. Right now, Luca and Israel, 2 kids in Bat's same class, were struggling out of their rain boots on the big rubber mat. It wasn't raining, but dark clouds peppered the sky in a way that it could mean that recess would be wet. At Sawway School, one of the philosophies, or that's the ideas of the school, was that students should go outside, rain or shine or snow. We kind of have that philosophy at our school too, because it's kind of fun to be outside no matter what, even if it is a little cold or snowy. Bat, I walk to school pretty much every day, whether it's rain or shine or snow as well. So I try to follow our school policy and philosophy. Bat hadn't worn rain boots, so he didn't have any that he needed to take off. He didn't carry an umbrella either, because the Sawway School didn't allow them in the hallways or classrooms, which Bat agreed was a wise decision. He skirted around a kindergartner whose mother was kneeling in front of him, holding a tissue to his nose. "Blow," she said, and he dodged between a couple of big kids, 6th graders, who were tossing a small red rubber ball back and forth. Back and forth. Balls are supposed to be kept outside, Bat told the slightly smaller of the 2 big kids, a boy he recognized by the red glasses he wore. "Not this ball," said the boy. "This is a special ball." And then he threw the ball over Bat's head to the other kid, a very tall girl, who caught it expertly with one hand and laughed. "Looks like a regular ball," Bat said. "It's not a regular ball," said the boy with the red glasses. Bat had a weird feeling in his stomach, like the boy was tricking him. He didn't know what to say. Just then, Luca and Israel came by without their rain boots. "Hi, Bat," Israel said. "Do you think it'll rain?" "Maybe," said Bat. "Well, eventually, yes. But today, maybe." Relieved, Bat watched the 2 big kids move away toward their classroom, still tossing the ball. "What do you think was so special about that ball?" he asked Israel. "Nothing," Israel said. Then Miss Kiko came out of the kindergarten room and rang her handbell. It made a gentle tinkling noise, way better than the harsh, painful scream of Janie's electric school bell system, which Bat had heard last year during a school play he'd gone to watch. To class, it's time for another day." Miss Kiko had a beautiful voice, which was probably why it was her job to announce the start of school. Bat followed Luca and Israel into Mr. Grayson's classroom. "I brought 2 sandwiches for lunch today," Luca was telling Israel, "in case you wanted to trade cookies for one." "Why would I want to do that?" Israel answered. "I brought my own sandwich." Bat knew why Luca would think Israel wanted to trade. Yesterday, he heard Luca tell Israel that she didn't really like her cream cheese sandwiches, and Israel had replied that he didn't like the turkey one his mom always made. "I would trade anything for a cream cheese sandwich," he had said. He listened to see if Luca would remind Israel of what he had said, but she didn't. "Perhaps Israel was just being nice," Bat interjected, "to make you feel better about bringing cream cheese sandwiches to school every day. He probably didn't really like your sandwich." Israel turned around. His face was red and his eyebrows pointed towards each other, making a wrinkly crinkle in his forehead. "Dude," he said to Bat. Bat waited for Israel to say more, but he didn't, just the one word, "Dude." Then Luca started crying. She shoved past Bat to go back into the hallway. He watched her run into the girls' bathroom. Mr. Grayson came over. He was wearing his bright orange tennis shoes today. Bat liked it when he wore those shoes. It was like he was wearing suns on his feet. "What's the problem, friends?" he asked. Bat embarrassed Luca, Israel said really loudly, making Bat wish he had earmuffs. They were in his backpack, on his back. I'm sure you didn't mean to embarrass her, did you, Bat? Said Mr. Grayson. There were 16 eyelets on each of his shoes. Bat counted. 8 on the left side, 8 on the right side. That made 32 eyelets. Bat, can you look up at my face? Mr. Grayson asked. Bat shook his head. 32 eyelets. His own shoes had half as many. 16 eyelets, 4 on each side of each shoe. Mr. Grayson sighed. Okay, Bat, go sit at your table. Bat wondered if anyone else in the class had more eyelets in their shoes than Mr. Grayson. He kept his eyes on shoes as he walked through the classroom. Nope, no one did. Okay, so that's all of our reading for today, but I did promise I'd talk a little bit about how you might find more information about skunks. But first, the Chapter 8 question. Why do you think Bat counted the eyelets on Mr. Grayson's shoes? It's a good question. Do you think he did it because he felt kind of uncomfortable that he made Luca cry, so he didn't really want to look at the teacher? But he also maybe is just kind of someone that is very interested in how much of everything they see everywhere around. I don't know, but maybe we'll find out more as we read the book. So, as I said, when I was reading the book and I got to the part about what he did or didn't know about skunks, I was like, I don't think I know that much about skunks. And I kind of want to know more about skunks. So I started thinking about where could I find out about skunks? And I thought, well, maybe, I don't know if we have any library books on skunks. So I went and looked, and we have 3 books on skunks. 2 books that are informational nonfiction books where you can actually learn something about skunks. One called Pew! The Skunk and Other Stinky Animals, and one just called Skunks. It's a general information book. We also have a 3rd book called The Skunk. That's a picture, I think it's a funny picture book, and it's by Mac Barnett, who you may remember, maybe not, but he was the author of our readathon book this year, Sam and Dave Dig a Hole. He's also written the Terrible 2 series, the Brixton Brothers series, and I think we have 1 or 2 other books by him. So I'm pretty sure it's going to be a funny book, but come and see me. Maybe you can check it out. And then I thought, well, where else might we find information about skunks? At school or at home? Well, I think all of you know one of the places we have a lot of information about animals is in Pebble Go. I thought, well, maybe Pebble Go has skunks, but maybe not. It does. It has a whole bunch of stuff on skunks, including the noise skunks make. I'm not sure this is going to work, but I'm going to see if I can do this loud enough so you can hear the skunk. Come on. It's not letting me do it. There's also a video on skunks in Pebble Go, and there's a video in Tumble Books on skunks. And there's an ebook on Minnesota Made eBooks, and Britannica Online also has a lot of information about skunks. If any of those things are interesting to you, let me know. And maybe you can show your parents how we find resources at school or at home using our databases. Remember, we go to the Somerset homepage, we click on online resources, we click on D for databases, and that's where you'll find Pebble Go and Britannica Online and all these other resources. So I hope if you're interested in skunks like I am, you'll go there. So I think I should probably finish up since it's 7:30 and it is a school night. I hope you enjoyed this, and if you want to add any more comments, I see we have Britta says hi. I already said Lila says hi. Josephine Young says hi, and Jovi. So thank you, everyone. And I hope you enjoyed the reading for today, and I hope that you all have fun reading this as a family together. So see you on Monday, everyone. Have a great weekend.